And welcome back to iTechnation. I'm Susie Garcia at Gadgets Garcia.
And I'm Greg Castile at No Teacher Like Me.
Today we are looking at what we have available to us digitally, technology-wise, because we're getting to the end of the year, and this is when teachers tend to be a little bit more adventurous with employing technology into the classroom.
Or letting the kids explore on their own. And then just being there to monitor, because the kids know a little bit more than a lot of us teachers. So as long as we're there to monitor the students and make sure that they're staying in accordance to like district protocols and laws, then I think we're exposing them at a greater depth.
And no teacher wants to spend money on anything.
No.
So the focus for today is going to be all about the devices that are already in our district and things that we can use with said devices.
Yes, because we're BYOD.
BYOD.
Bring your own device. I don't know. That's just funny to me. So, like my devices, I always bring every day. My cell phone. I'm Android.
I'm Apple.
So we may have a few there, but both are usable on our network. We can connect to the Wi-Fi just like our students can every day, and we have access to our Google Drives, all of our Google Docs, all of those apps that we use on our Chromebooks or other devices as well.
And it's always a good idea to send home a form, just letting the parents know that they are in fact using their devices for educational purposes. And it does help to take that little extra measure and let them know which apps they would need. Yes. Because a lot of the more diligent parents won't give them their password to download apps.
Oh, that's true.
So it's a good idea to let them know ahead of time, hey, we need this app for this activity. Please go ahead and put them on their phone. I swear they're not lying to you.
And I'm thinking for our older students, it's also important for discipline management so that they know exactly what periods, the parents know and the campus knows what periods those students are going to be able to have access to their phones and what times they will not have access to their phones, because we don't want any miscommunication between classroom and administrators.
It can be done. It's daunting, but it absolutely can be a rock star lesson when you utilize their own devices.
Yes.
Now, one of the plus sides of using a district device is that it can be accessed on the private network. And with the private network, you can sync to the Promethean board, you can sync to different things, gradebook, eSchool.
Okay.
So if you're looking at it from like a teacher perspective, I can actually look at my gradebook on my iPad and be giving participation grades.
And walking around my room and actively monitoring while I'm using my device. So that is helpful, definitely, if you're one of those people that doesn't like being tied behind a desk.
So if you're looking at iPad options, there are 3 that are kind of circulating around the district. You got your mini.
Yes, those are fun.
Which are fun, great compact sizes. A lot of the special ed departments utilize the minis. They're more portable.
Okay.
And I indeed like the size of the mini.
True.
You can still do everything you need to do.
Okay.
Screen size is not little. Then we've got...
Now these are the ones I'm used to.
The iPad Air.
Yes.
One of the great things that I love with these is that you can utilize a nice Bluetooth keyboard case, and it becomes like a tiny Chromebook. Download Chrome on it and you're good to go.
A mini computer.
Woohoo! And then we've got a few iPad Pros that are circulating around the campus.
Haven't seen any of those on my campus.
They're giant, but they work like a nice compact laptop, so they're pretty cool. And the fact that you can do more than one app at a time doesn't hurt.
Okay, and some of my elementary campuses, I'm actually seeing the handheld cases where the kids have, it's like a rubber on the outside, and that way
like
they
little
can
arms.
Toss them. If they happen to drop them, it won't kill them. The computer, that is. And it's just helpful in helping them move around, helping the students move the devices and become familiar with the devices without the teacher being scared that, hey, they're going to break it, I don't want them to use it.
Some of the great apps that I've seen used by students on the iPads have been things like the different augmented reality apps. And there are so many. Erasma, the Quiver app for coloring, and you can use it for in the little grades. They're awesome to set the story, to set the settings.
And I'm actually noticing on your Pro, you actually have a stylus. So even if you had kids that wanted to work on handwriting without having to use their fingers, they could use a stylus. If you had an older kid that was doing an art project, wanted to draw, those are all options that are available to our students.
And it's great for when you're utilizing things like in math, and you don't want to have to fat finger the numbers and then not be able to decipher, is that a 4, is that a 9? Yeah. Did you curse me out? I can't tell.
What's the fine point? And then just draw it on there.
So it's great, especially when you're utilizing an app like Nearpod.
Yes.
The Draw It feature is awesome to get that instant feedback, and use it on an iPad, you're good to go.
Right. And your kids know how to do that already, so you're just there proctoring the environment that won't allow them to go astray.
And I've preached it before with the teachers on my campus and with any teacher that will listen. One-to-one is not ideal.
So this was a discussion that we were having on my campus because a lot of other districts are going one-to-one right now. Why did Aldine really decide to not go, one device per pupil, instead go at least 2-to-1 or try to get to 2-to-1?
There's a couple of reasons. There is a little security concern with letting everyone know that our students are equipped with a lot of technology.
Expensive technology.
Expensive technology. But more importantly, that collaborative feature tends to get lost when you do one-to-one. When you have to employ stations or rotation groups,
right,
you have more of an opportunity to collaborate and really push the kids into that unique, centralized learning where they're in charge of their learning. And you can also avoid just sending a digital worksheet to them.
And they working independently at all times. Now we're forced to have a conversation, say, what role am I going to have, what role are you going to have, and then be able to come with a finished product that we both understand at a deeper level.
Exactly, because when you're talking about collaboration, that's really how our students learn today. And whether it's we're sharing an iPad together in class, or I know that I'm in station 1 and later I'm going to be working with my teacher while I work independently, it opens up more options for a much higher level of learning in the classroom.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, thinking about utilizing these devices, I know a lot of people are using Schoology and Google Classroom right now. Are all of those applications and systems compatible with our devices, iPads, cell phones, and Chromebooks?
All of them. One of the cool things about Aldine is that we're pretty great at picking products that
are transferable
on all devices. So whether it's an iOS app or a Chrome Web Store app or Google Play or something for an Android, you can download them from different platforms.
Right.
Because that's the most important thing, especially when you're talking about bring your own device. I may only have 5 iPads, but if everyone else has their phones or their iPod Touches or their Kindle Nooks, whatever they got, bring it. We're going to utilize it.
Because right now I'm even thinking about things like RTI and being able to do their universal screening, all of those different tests that we have going on throughout the district. All of these devices are compatible so that they can actually access that information. So teachers don't feel like they have to have a computer for every child every time they have to access these types of assessment.
Yeah. The other awesome tool that we are utilizing a lot in the district are Chromebooks.
Yes.
And there are a lot of Chromebooks out there.
Star testing on Chromebook.
Isn't it awesome?
I really would want
I'm
to do
a little jealous that they didn't have that when I was testing.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it was not Star at the time, but
look, it wasn't. The days.
But we still had a form of standardized testing, and the tools that are available and the different way that you can differentiate with Chromebooks is awesome.
It really helps the students find that independence that we're trying to help them kind of garner throughout their experience as a student, and then it helps free up staff so you don't have so many people having to do small group testing, so many people having to do oral administrations. These types of assessment on these computers, whether it's desktop or Chromebook, it really just helps make assessment a lot less stressful.
It does. You just throw on a pair of headset
and say, go for it.
And go for it.
Click, text to talk.
So if we're thinking of the teacher perspective,
yes,
one of the cool things you can do with iPads that belong to the district is that you can stream from them to your Promethean board and basically use it like a document camera in your hands. And you can do that with the Chromebook as well.
And that's using Airsoft?
Air server.
Air server. There we go. I was so close.
Very close. We're not shooting anyone with
Yeah, no.
pellet guns.
Oh, that is what Airsoft is. Yeah, brain moment.
And if you're an educator, I would recommend customizing your Chrome experience. For example, YouTube. You can customize to your liking and share playlists.
And I think a lot of our teachers don't realize that they have full access to YouTube through their email addresses. So they can create their own playlist. I actually have one. Do you mind if I share it? Now, this one was from, eons and eons ago, before we got our beautiful at Aldine ISD Google accounts. I actually had a Google account for my students, and then whenever we would record videos, we would just upload them and they could study them at home for homework. This one, for example, was talking about Arthur's Purpose. One Saturday school, the kids came up, re-recorded their videos. I just always tell teachers to remember to keep these postings unlisted so that no one can do a search for them. And if you want to share them with your students, give them a direct link or a direct QR code so that they're able to view that at their leisure.
And you can even send them a playlist link.
Yes.
So if you have a set of instructional videos that you want them to watch at their leisure or within their small groups, you can send the playlist link as well.
So speaking of playlists, so when you go back to your channel on your account, you're just going to scroll over to playlists, and then here are my playlists right here. I taught social studies for a couple years. My social studies videos, South Africa videos, in language arts. We had different commercials we were analyzing for emotional appeal. That way I could just do those at home the night before, a couple weeks before, have them ready, share the link with the other teachers on my team, share the link with my students, and they were all able to access that information, and I didn't have to send it 1,000 times.
And you can pre-screen it, do the work ahead of time,
Please.
And not come into the chaos of, oh, I didn't want them to play next. I didn't want that to play next.
Yes. And I think that kind of saves, because a lot of times now YouTube is really good for showing inappropriate commercials now in the middle of you watching a video. So when you create the playlist, it does help filter some of that information so that the only videos that play after each other are the ones that you've selected.
And then just a little PSA with YouTube. When you are creating these awesome videos with your students, be mindful of what's playing in the background, whether it's intentional or unintentional.
Yes.
If you've got music that you don't own playing, that's copyright infringement.
It is.
And YouTube will take it down.
And they don't even really tell you. They just take it.
They just take it.
Email, hey, we took this down. You may want to fix it. So just think about the music, because we don't own the rights to it. Although we have like teacher, I don't know, what do you want to, licenses. That's one of the things that YouTube is a stickler on, is making sure that your music is owned by you, making sure that it's original content.
So another cool thing with YouTube and our Google Apps for Education, so let's go back to apps. In addition to customizing your YouTube, which is a Google app, sometimes people forget that it's already thrown in there.
It is.
And we've got our Google Drive. With the Chrome Web Store, you can also customize your experience with what apps you use as an educator or your extensions. So we talked about extensions when we did the ABCs.
Yes.
But we didn't really talk about apps that we can add, like if we want to do Hangouts or change up our Google Calendars. Those are all really good things that will just save you a load of time.
And I think people, if you're confused on what an app or where you will see your apps, if you ever look in your, I always call it the 9 square.
I call it the waffle.
Okay, waffle, 9 square, whichever you prefer. Most of your apps will actually show up in that box, so you can see them once you've downloaded them. So it's just a helpful hint if anyone didn't know what we were talking about.
True that. And then, of course, you go to your web store and you just plug away what you want. One of the cool ones that I just found out this week is called Book Creator. And, I mean, talk about moving us up to the next level of Bloom's taxonomy.
Right.
it really helps to create that neat assessment, that summative assessment where, okay, I need a report, and you can add text and sound and audio and images, and you've got this nice little digital book. And of course, it's free and available on the App Store.
Free download.
So if I need to do it here or on my iPad, my students can create a beautiful product and prove that they are learning what they are learning.
And I think for myself, coming from a language arts background, Grammarly is one of the most exciting ones that I've seen lately, and it's actually on the main screen now, because it helps your students edit their papers without the teacher having to do it in every subject. So if you're working in science, social studies, math, this is an option when you have those students completing those writing assignments. They can type it in to Google Docs or whatever typing software they want to use, and then use that add-on to actually edit or help them edit throughout the process.
And then don't forget, if you're going to use Google Docs, take it to that next level where you're going to add feedback or have your students give feedback to each other. That's the big thing, that when we're talking about these awesome apps, make sure that we're going full circle and we add that collaboration.
And if you don't know how to use it, just Google it. Put it in YouTube. I guarantee you there are going to be about 5,000 videos, some good, some not so good. But that's what our students do. They just research on their own, usually in their leisure, so that they can figure out how to access this type of information.
And there is actually an extension called Google Suite Training that is really awesome. You add it on there, and any app that you open up, it's going to ping you, kind of like the annoying paperclip from Microsoft.
Oh.
It's going to not annoyingly ping you, but let you know, hey, I see you're on this.
Right.
These are some things that you can do with it.
I might have to try that one out, too.
So do you think you are ready to use some Chromebooks and iPads?
Every day.
Every day and finish the year off strong?
Star is almost here.
It's almost here, and then we have a little bit more freedom.
Yes. Curriculum to transition them to the next year.
Yes.
Via technology.
I think you're ready. I think you're ready to start tomorrow with some Chromebooks in your classroom.
Like today. I have a Chromebook. I'm taking one home today.
All right.
Let's get started.
So join us next time for our next episode on digital resources.
Yes.
I'm Susie Garcia at Gadgets Garcia.
And I'm Greg Castile at No Teacher Like Me.
Reminding you to stay techy.